As I reflect through the weekend, I see grown men declaring themselves as women, war is breaking out left and right, and Rolex prices are plummeting. It's a mad, mad world that we are living in right now. However, the sad part about this is that even if you take a different perspective in this matter, you'll still see a strangely relatable situation. The speculative market is at war with itself and us. Now Rolex prices are going down, and grown men are reduced to crying 13-year-old girls trying to get a Taylor Swift ticket. It's still not a good look for humanity altogether. However, all hope is not lost because this watch pirate, after months of waiting, has finally gotten his hands on the new Christopher Ward the 1236. So, drop all of your Rolexes, your Royal Oaks, your Casio Oaks, or your PRXs, and let's talk about the new Christopher Ward the 1236. This video is brought to you by Christopher Ward. So it took a bit of time before I finally got my hands on this review unit of the new Christopher Ward 1236. I was disappointed to get the news that I won't be able to review the original 40mm version, but for the 36, I had to send some furiously typed emails to certain people so I can get this model in the island. Because I know that it would be a grave injustice to not review one of the hottest sports watch made specifically for people lacking wrist presence. Take that comment any which way you like, but I can assure you I am yet to meet anyone who was intimidated by me just by looking at my wrist. But just look at this right now. It's simply perfection. It's the most seamless marriage of cuff size and timepiece dimensions. I can end this video right here, and this is all the explanation you need to justify the purchase. But hold on to that thought, we'll come back to that later. There's still some nifty goodies in this treat. There's a threaded crown for additional protection and no date function to worry about, so you can skip ahead to setting the time. It's more simplified and easy to work with as much as it's easy to look at. Where this really shines is against its competition. Ever since its release, the 12 has been compared against the venerable Tissot PRX. Tissot has since released the PRX in a more compact size and equipped it with its own automatic caliber. Here's where the first blow lands, with the 12 coming in at 1mm thinner than the PRX. This makes the dimensions of the 12 more composed and refined. You can see the similarities from underneath as well, but it's very noticeable how the PRX looks raw opposed to the gorgeous cuts of the 12. I think that's one way of describing CW's latest darling. It's as if they secretly got a PRX in their offices and sculpted the edges to produce the 12. Christopher Ward did improve many of the aspects found in the PRX. One of the big differences is the way that the lugs are constructed. The PRX uses a female end-link configuration, while the 12 anchors its bands the other way around. This positions the 12's mounting mechanism on the case itself, making the strap manufacturing process a little less costly. Granted, that may not be the reason for this decision, it does make it feel that CW thought about the design more than Tissot did. It becomes part of displaying the back side, which in this case looks more impressive with all of those facets and details. On the bracelets, the refinements are also added using a careful and more delicate tapering form. Both use an invisible butterfly clasp mechanism to achieve a more seamless visual effect. But with all of the chamfers added on both sides, CW's bracelet ups the details a lot. It really looks like the more premium version of the two. Both these two pieces romanticizes an era when watches were smaller, but how does it compare to an actual watch that literally was produced in that time? This is where Mr. Zelos comes to our aid, as he has sent this gorgeous Bulova Accutron. Measuring at just 34mm and with a more curvaceous case design, the Accutron is significantly smaller than the 12 or the PRX for that matter. So for those thinking that the era of small watches is back, well, it's not a complete restoration down to 34 if you catch my drift. Thanks to Mr. Zelos, this wrist can now fully experience the glory of the 70s along with the beautiful sweeping Accutron hand. But it's pretty close with the dial diameter. Now let's step back to the present and examine the smaller details of the 12. Initially, I'm not really attracted to the much hyped bezel structure, but I gradually gravitated towards it. I'm still enamored with the case and bracelet as the main feature. It's articulate and has all the tight tolerances that you need. The case is a luscious mix of finishes, with the chamfers providing that pleasing form. The case back also got more attention with the 12-sided motif appearing here, and the square-up spring bars gives a refreshing take on a very familiar contraption. As you close the glass, the name Christopher Ward displays itself, coming together more naturally than Tissot 1853. Now the dial. I'm initially skeptical of this dial, worrying that it might be too noisy and detract from the lovely elements. I'm happy to report that my worries were unfounded, as this silver dial model gives just enough interest without taking too much attention. The logo still pops out beautifully, especially when hit by light. Fact, this logo needs to be installed in 3 separate places. Plus points for effort. Those spear-shaped indexes are just a marvel to look at. It's surprising to see how pronounced they are over a seemingly similar surface tone. Not only does it stand out, it's also wonderfully finished. A detail you don't need a loupe to notice. This same craftsmanship is applied on the hands. However, the more I look at these tiny details, the more this inching feeling starts to settle in. All of these great features will come at a great cost. And that is likely the biggest barrier for watch pirates like me. At $1,225, that's the value of the PRX that I compared it with, plus another gold digital PRX, and you still have spare change to buy a Kentucky bourbon. Yes, beauty is painful at times, but the reality of sending this back still stings like an urchin under my salty boots. I am now officially declaring myself an impoverished watch pirate, because that is the only excuse I could ever come up with for not owning the 1236. And that is the new Christopher Ward the 1236. It's got all of the gorgeous curves, it's got the very fine finishing, but it doesn't have that price that my PRX wallet is looking for. That's the sad situation. And what's more sad is that I have to send this back to Christopher Ward when I wish that I could keep it. But nevertheless, it's a very nice and beautiful sports watch that fits my wrist perfectly. And I think Christopher Ward will continue to milk this like Tissot is milking their PRX.